cow. One little cow. Pretty goofy. All right, it is Sunday, May 12th. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I am in Utah and the Escalante Grand Staircase National Monument, and I'm at the Gulch trailhead, and what I'm gonna do is head down the Gulch, not Grand Gulch, not Coyote Gulch. It's just called the Gulch, and it's a long canyon that runs downstream from the high mountains, goes down to the Escalante River. So my plan is to kind of just head down the canyon and meet up with the Escalante River. I think it's 4:30 p.m. Utah time here, so I don't have a ton of daylight, so I'm only probably gonna hike in a few miles, find a place to camp, and then continue down the canyon for at least a couple days, and that should be it. Let's get going. There's not a whole lot in terms of marked trails out here. And there's a sign at the trailhead that basically says you're responsible for your own navigation. You need a map and compass for this hike, etc. And basically, you're just walking in a canyon bottom. I'm already really liking what I'm seeing from this trail. This looks really cool. And here's a view of the Gulch looking upstream. Looks like there's quite a bit of water right now. It's kind of clear, but kind of muddy. That worries me a little bit with my little Sawyer filter, but I got a little trick up my sleeve. Looks like there's a yeast trail that kind of continues up. Already getting wet. I asked myself earlier whether I thought that I really should bring 2 pairs of hiking socks or not. And now I'm really glad that I brought a second pair of hiking socks because I'm already wet. And here's the trail ahead going down further into the Gulch. There's some beautiful trees. And it looks like the stream bed is widening. So the water is only about 3 inches deep maybe over here. Just a shot of the rock formations that form the canyon walls. And things are starting to definitely open up. These are cottonwoods, I think. The use trail through here is really well trodden and it's super easy to follow so far. Here's another shot at the canyon walls. Looks like it's gonna open up here. Okay, well, I just climbed what's behind me and it's really starting to open up here. You can see the canyon walls have gotten considerably wider. Sun in the shot. Looks like it's really starting to open up and we're getting some amazing looking rock features. Well, I'll say that about this hike. It is challenging. You kind of lose the use trail every few hundred feet and you just kind of have to figure out where to pick it up back again. And it's interesting. It's kind of like solving a problem. I like gulch hiking and canyon hiking because of that. Not the least bit because it's so beautiful, but there is a certain appeal to the problem-solving aspect of route finding. But at the same time, it's kind of cool because you know, at the end of the day, okay, I just got to get down this canyon, so it's not like there's a whole lot of places to get lost. I better get a move on. It's gonna be dark in about an hour and 20 minutes. This looks like something that animals use. Oh yeah, maybe people. Here we are at the Gulch again. So I just saw something huge cross the Gulch right as I was entering back over to it. Something big, like a big animal, and I just caught the tail end of it. I don't know what it was. I hope it was a cow because I've heard that there's cows that kind of come in here, but every now and then you do get black bears in some of the lower canyons in Utah, so I'm just gonna be careful. All right, well, I guess that animal's gonna leave me alone. So in a lot of ways, I've actually been to Grand Gulch, which is out at Cedar Mesa, for those who don't know. And This is really similar, it's just a lot more green. And there's more water. But also the trails are much easier to follow in the Gulch than Grand Gulch. Grand Gulch, there's like about 1 million used trails. And you just kind of are constantly turning yourself around, searching on different trails for different ways and trying to figure out which one's the right one. The answer is they're all right. You can pick any which way, as long as you just keep going downstream. That's pretty much what the hikes consist of. And that's the right way to do it out here. Okay, well, I did figure out what kind of animal it was. This is really funny. Cow. One little cow. And he appears to be chowing down. Pretty goofy. Alright, well, I have decided to camp up on top of this slick rock bench. It's really cool. I thought there might be a spring over there. There is kind of a seep, but it's not enough to collect water from. Man, these new shoes of mine are totally covered in mud. That's always fun. What are you gonna do? All right, well, I think that's gonna call it a night for night one. See you guys tomorrow. Good morning. It is day 2 and I have just finished up breakfast and am filtering water and gonna be heading back down the gulch some more. And here's a look around my campsite for night 1. You'll notice I'm using a different tent. More on that later. Love these striated rocks. Beautiful. So yesterday I was talking about being worried about the water quality out here, about how turbid and muddy the water is, and what I forgot was that I packed like a bunch of coffee filters into my pack. So at least I have those. So I kind of figured something out and it seems to be working. I filtered 2 liters last night and my filter has not clogged yet. So what I did here is I made sort of a makeshift gravity filter system. I'm really glad I decided at the last second to bring this extra Sawyer bag with the hang attachment and some coffee filters. And so I'm basically just letting the coffee filter do the dirty work of getting the mud and the silt out of the water. Mostly, I did find a little bit of silt on the business end of my Sawyer, but I did filter a couple liters last night and so far, so good. The trail at this point is just a cow path. I've lost kind of all signs of human footprints a while ago, actually. I came across this big alcove, and it looks like this would have been a great place to camp if there wasn't so much cow manure around, cow patties. So I'm carrying a ton of water today, probably about 4.5 liters, because dealing with the muddy water situation has been challenging, and filtering through those coffee filters is incredibly slow. So while I was camping, I just decided I'm just going to carry a bunch of water to try to filter as little as possible. There's some stunning slick rock out here, and what looks like kind of a rock fall. I have just sort of given up trying to stay dry at this point. There are so many crossings, but I bought some new hiking shoes. These are I'll put the name in the comments because the name escapes me, but they are Merrell's, and they're a new shoe for 2019. They, I guess, are designed to be a full-on hiking shoe that is also really fast drying for water. It's got like channels to like channel out the water in the bottom, and so far so good. They do let a lot of sand in, but I had the same experience at Grand Gulch wearing trail runners with sand getting in my shoes. And these actually dry faster than your average trail runner, believe it or not, even though that's what everybody seems to hike in. It's surprisingly warm out today, so I'm actually making a point to get my feet wet because it's cooling me off a lot. So I think that this will eventually slot up and turn into a Narrows. And then I noticed there's this orange stuff. Kind of took me by surprise because I haven't really seen a whole lot of other sort of non-natural features out here. And I think this is a barrier for the cows, but it doesn't look to have held up very well. You can see it's starting to slot up very slowly into a Narrows. And I think I'm approaching a bypass route. I was reading online that you can take this right here. There's obvious signs of like footprints leading up this way. And I guess this is a way to make a loop around back up into the gulch from kind of an overland approach coming from Horse Canyon. I was thinking about doing that on this trip, and I might have time to do it, but I don't think I will. And if the water quality was better, I probably would be more likely to do it. But I'd rather stay close to good water sources. All right, I climbed up just to take a look at this bypass route real quick. Anyway, I was just curious. So there's the gulch down there. And funny enough, there's a old shovel right here. And it's pretty obvious that there's a path where other people walk up here, and it looks like it just walks up onto this slick rock bench up here. Kind of doubt that there's any cairns, so I kind of see some sort of cairn-like structure up there. Most likely this will be more of an out and back, just because I'm solo and I haven't done that route before, and it's completely off trail route finding. Better to keep yourself out of trouble. The creek crossings are so frequent, plan on getting your feet wet. I just saw this guy swimming away. Pretty cool. I just closed another gate, and this one looks a little more substantial, and hopefully this keeps the cows out. This one actually goes across the entire drainage and looks like something out of Mad Max or one of the Fallout games. So I'm hoping that makes it easier to avoid all the cow activity. I'm pretty close to where the canyon turns into a narrows and the slot canyon. Just incredible. Okay, looks like the cabin is coming into view, which should mean that I'm nearing the bypass to get over the slot canyon. So I'm actually gonna have to exit the gulch up on this side, walk overland for about 1.5 miles, I believe, and then drop back down and probably camp for the night over there. But first, I'm gonna check out this cabin over here. It's pretty obvious that people camp by this cabin. There's actually a fire ring, even though I believe fires are not allowed out here, but maybe I could be wrong. Here's the cabin, and I believe there's a cairned route somewhere in this area that I'm gonna have to go searching for to get up out of this canyon. But since there appears to be a gate up there, I'm assuming it's right over there. It's pretty interesting. It's just some of the stuff around the cabin. Firewood, a rope, and a grill mesh. Perfect for cattle rustling. I wanted to show you these shoes, how they work. Watch, the water kind of squeezes right out of them. And they actually work as advertised. Most of the water kind of squeezes out very quickly, and within maybe 15 or 20 minutes, your feet are feeling pretty dry, at least drier than I've felt in the past with trail runners only. Well, I didn't see any cairns, but this appears to be the route up. Huh, it's definitely something. This is actually the area that I had planned on camping originally on the first night, but I just started too late to be able to come all the way out here. I think this is the first real view of the greater landscape I've had since entering the canyon. And today I will be bypassing the Narrows. Originally I had planned to walk all the way down, but because of the unusually high water, the slot will be unpassable. So I'm taking this bypass instead. It's always good when you can see other people's footprints, even if they do look old. It would be much more difficult to route find without these other prints. Ugh, post holing all over the place. Very loose sand. Okay, so the last day and a half I've been kind of saying to myself, man, there's not a whole lot to see down in this canyon and I'm not really sure if it's worth it. But now that I'm climbing out of the canyon, the view is making all of it worth it. This bypass section is short. I think it's under 2 miles, but it's really tough hiking. There's a lot of steep up and down, and you're just doing like route finding overland. So I'm turning around a lot and going back to where I'm finding more heavily used trails. Well, I'm up to kind of the top bench on top of the canyon. I believe this is called Brigham T Bench, just overlooking the canyon. Pretty desolate. I keep losing the used trail. This is really slow going. So I know I need to make my way about south-southeast. So I kind of just keep checking my compass and just following the path of least resistance. So I thought these were cairns at first, but they're not. They're little mini hoodoos. There's another one here. Neat. View down canyon. That's where I came from. And I finally have a view now of where I'm going to drop down at, which is right in here. There's actually a trail that goes right up through there. And so I still have to traverse all of this through this area out here and go up there and then drop down. And here is another shot of the canyon going back where I came from. I've been hiking up here on this bench, and you can see where it begins to narrow. And the canyon just kind of zigzags through there, and you can't even really see it, but that's where the narrows goes through, right there. And it continues. Okay, so I figured out that half of that route I was following totally wrong. Apparently there are cairns the whole way. I just happened to miss the first pair. Cairns like this one and this one. And it's a good thing I found them, because here's our route down. And it is cairned all the way down. Looks a little sketchy, looks a little steep. I have no idea what I'm in for, but it's beautiful all the same. There's the trail. So I gotta show you guys. I just had to go up this, and you can't see the other side. It's really steep slick rock with some cairns on it. It's so steep you have to slide down on your butt at times. The shoes actually get too steep of grade. So I'm not too worried about coming back up the other way. Usually it's easier to ascend slick rock than it is to descend slick rock. All right, now that I'm down, you can kind of have a better idea of what the bypass looks like on the slick rock slope. From this angle on the camera, it doesn't look that steep, but actually looking at it in person, it looks about maybe 80 or 85 degree slope. So not entirely vertical, but close enough that your feet even will lose grip. So you have to scoot down on your butt. And we're just getting our look at sort of the end of the Gulch Narrows down there. Amazing canyon walls here. And if you look really hard, you can see that there's kind of a little cave guy there. Looks like some weather is moving in. Hopefully it clears up so I can sleep with the rain fly off. I pulled a forecast on my inReach yesterday afternoon, and it said basically through the entire week a 10% chance of rain. So hopefully it stays that way. Well, my shoes are white again. At the moment, I am simply looking for a good campsite. Okay, things are starting to look like Grand Gulch more and more, with frequent really sandy crossings in and out of the drainage, and actually following the drainage. A lot more down logs. It's a little after 4. I have yet to find a good campsite. So a little bit of bushwhacking going on. I would just follow the drainage, but it's getting kind of deep and really muddy and kind of quicksandy in spots. Here's where I'm set up for night number 2. Kind of up on a little bench here. It's not very high, but it's high enough that a flash flood, at least a regular flash flood, wouldn't be a problem. I hope. It's the highest spot I could find. Alright, well, I've made camp for night 2. I actually went pretty far down the Gulch, but I wasn't finding any good campsites. In fact, a lot of the Gulch happens to be pretty narrow. Not like a slot canyon, but definitely narrow enough that there's just a very overgrown path on each side, and then you have the Gulch flowing, and in a lot of cases it's kind of a deep gully with water flow that's around ankle deep at times. So really no good places to camp. I actually saw a few spots where I was like, maybe I can scramble up a hill and set up there, and both times I did that, it was a real pain in the butt to do so, and it turned out there was nothing flat up there. It was just all completely overgrown with like tamarisk, and then even if I went further and tried to get up any slick rock benches, that didn't work out either. I just couldn't find anything. So I am sort of kind of basing this hike off of a few videos I've seen online, but mostly the book Non-Technical Canyon Hiking by Mike Kelsey. And I can't really remember if he said that there are no campsites below the Narrows, or if there were no good campsites above the Narrows. And I guess I must have read it wrong, because there are no good campsites below the Narrows. So this is pretty much the best one, and it's kind of right off the use trail, but it's high enough, it's kind of off on its own and high enough that anybody walking by, yeah, they'd see me and they'd walk right by me, but I wouldn't be in their way. And so I actually ended up walking quite a distance, probably in total today it was only about 12 miles, but it was 12 hard miles. Every one of those miles was earned. And that hiker's bypass is extremely difficult hiking on the drop down into the Gulch below the Narrows. It is so difficult that I would say it's advanced level hiking for sure. It was really sketchy. At one point I did consider turning around. Given that normally climbing up slick rock is less sketchy and easier than climbing down it, I'm not too worried about having to do it. But what I've decided I'm going to do is I'm going to turn around tomorrow and start going back to the car, because this hiking is just too slow going. There's no way I'm going to be able to get down to the Escalante River. Things are just really overgrown right now, and it's just not quite what I expected in terms of places to camp and areas that are safe from flash floods, because this area probably just barely qualifies as that. Most of the other areas I consider camping, it was going to be kind of iffy. There really aren't a whole lot of places. You kind of have beach sand that's like maybe 5 to 8 feet up from the drainage, and there are some of those where the drainage is nice and wide, so a flash flood coming through wouldn't be too bad. But my worry is, you know, you have the occasional flash floods that come through that are pretty extreme. Right along the path where you walk, that's above the Gulch, you can see just trees flattened from where the water rushes through when like a 50-year or 25-year flash flood comes through. So I'm going to turn around and hike out tomorrow. I'm probably gonna have to spend at least one more night, but probably 2 more nights before I get back to my car. And I might do a side trip after that, I'm not sure. But it's been a really, really long day. I spent around over 7 hours on the trail today, and I only made 12 miles, mostly because of all that off-route or off-trail route finding and the sketchy slick rock. So I am going to call it a night, and I will see you guys in the morning. All right, it is day 3. I have packed up camp and I am heading on out of the canyon. I'm gonna go back up the bypass route, which is really sketchy, so I'm not gonna film any of it. Actually, I'm not gonna do much filming at all until I get back to my car, until I decide what I'm gonna do at that point, because last night I discovered that my phone charging cable died and I am currently using my phone as my only camera. So I thought I'd take just one sec to talk about the kind of just the hike in general and the vibe. I haven't seen one single person the entire time I've been out here, not one. I got here on a Sunday and it's what, Tuesday now. I haven't seen a single person at all. I've seen a bunch of cows, though once you get near the cabin, the barriers keep the cows out, and so pretty much all that lower portion of the gulch is cow free. But if you're looking for solitude, but a challenging hike, this is probably a place to put on your list. Little alcove there. Little mud, pretty muddy. So as you can see, I'm kind of following this well-worn cow path. I was pretty lost and just sort of meandering through the desert on the previous day, trying to figure out how to bypass the narrows. And today I did find more of a well-defined cow path, and it seems to be taking me in the right direction. So I'm just gonna keep following this and hopefully it'll be faster today.